You know, last few weeks ago when I was answering some of the questions on the weekly rundown, there was one question I did not answer. I didn't answer it on purpose. I thought about it for the weekly rundown, but I knew it was going to lead into another conversation that was going to take a long time to talk about. And so I decided, well, maybe I should just do it for the podcast. But then I thought, no, this really deserves to be on YouTube. So I'll do it as a YouTube video. It does involve Star Wars, the Expanded Universe. So this is our Expanded Universe talk here, which a lot of you all also enjoy. And this topic is, I guess, a little controversial, meaning people have different feelings on it. So this is what I think about it. These are my beliefs here. If you do not agree with that, that's fine. You're more than welcome to disagree. I won't mind and won't take offense at all. And I hope you do the same with me. But what I'm going to say is just kind of how I feel about this. And it's been something I've been wanting to talk about. So this is just the perfect time. The question I got is as follows. Someone asked, Matt, can Tarkin be considered part of Legends since it was originally supposed to come out within that universe? And the answer is no. Definitely not. I'm so sorry. Tarkin's history has changed in the book than what it was in the Legends universe. It changed big time. And so there's not any continuity there. There's contradictions there. And plus, it happens in the Legends, it happens in the new canon, and therefore it's fine. You know, some people who read it said, oh, Matt, they got rid of, I'm not going to do any spoilers for that one, but I didn't read it, so, but a buddy of mine read it, and he was kind of disappointed that they changed Tarkin's background, which he really enjoyed. And I said, oh, that's kind of sad. But then at the same time, it's new canon, they can do whatever they want, right? And I've always said that, and I'm glad they went in a different direction. But you can't blame Lucino here, okay? Because honestly, when it was announced these books were flipping over to the new canon, yeah, they did announce 4 books that were supposedly already ordered but not written. John Jackson Miller's was the only one that was written by that time. Remember? Because he thought he was writing, or he was actually still writing it, he said. So he must have been in the final draft status. And he was like, oh, wow, this is going to be a new canon book. And he went back and made a few changes, not much. Just took out some of the terminology, as you know. And brought out the new canon. His book was the new canon book. And so that is considered the beginning of new canon. It can't be considered with the old. For that reason, all the other books that were ordered originally, they weren't even written. They deserve to be in the new canon too. There's no question in my mind about that. Remember, this happened a year before James Lucino's Tarkin book came out. Now, usually, according to the authors I have talked to, most of them don't have anything written at this time. Remember, Christy Golden, even though they had cover art and a title, and it was supposed to be coming out in the next couple months, but yet she said, oh, I didn't have anything prepared for it. Really? Now, I'm a little doubtful on that. You know how I am. But Drew Karpyshyn wrote a book in 3 months, and I heard someone wrote something in 45 days, so maybe Christy Golden was trying to break the record and write it just 2 weeks before it was supposed to come out. I don't know. But usually, if you ask authors, you know, how far in advance you write these, it could be anywhere between those couple of months to a year, and even a year out. You know, like, I'm sure James Lucino knew he was writing a book about Tarkin. I'm sure about that. And he, at best, was probably writing down a rough draft of what all he wanted to do, laying out his plans. Well, when the Legends universe was announced non-canon, the old canon said, nope, it's non-canon anymore. It goes into Legends universe status. And everything else is a new canon. I'm sure he took all the study he had to make about Tarkin's character and threw it out the window. And that's fine, because now he's free to rewrite Tarkin's history however he wants. And he did. And that's fine. It's fine on James Lucino to do that. I hear it's the best book out of the new stuff that's come out. Again, I haven't read it, but I hear it's one of the best books. So anyway, it's fine that he wrote this new book set in a new world, and I agree with that. I think they should keep the canon separate. I am against mixing the canon, the two canons, you know, the old canon and the new canon. I'm against that. Well, Matt, what if this book doesn't necessarily contradict anything, or not very much? I'm going to let Tarkin slip into the Legends universe. I'm going to say you shouldn't, because technically it's not part of the Legends universe and should not be considered as such. Hear me out. A lot of people want to do this with the old canon. They want to fit some of these stories in, and they say, well, as long as it's not contradicted, it still could possibly happen. They're going off what Timothy Zahn had told people. Say, hey folks, hey, you know, as long as it didn't get contradicted, you can pretend it still happened. I don't think that was good advice. Here's the thing. I hear tons of Old Republic fans going, well, Old Republic can still be considered canon because they mentioned the Old Republic, and they haven't, contradicted anything from the Old Republic, so it's still canon. You got a big problem there, because the new canon states the Old Republic is only 1,000 years old. And according to all your games, all your books, all your comics, everything happened well before 1,000 years. So to say that Old Republic can still be considered canon, sorry, the new canon has definitely contradicted that. You could say, well, move the timeline around, force up to 1,000 years. I guess, but why do you want to start cramming stuff? You're making sacrifices and taking out pieces of the history and really just making a square peg, forcing it through a circle peg. That's not going to work. Circled hole, It's not going to work that way. People who say, well, you know what, you can consider Timothy Zahn's adventures canon, Not really. It happened in Legends, and I'm happy for that. I don't want it to be part of the new canon. I want them to go off and invent their own new canon. Remember, be creative. I'm still waiting to see people be creative with the new canon. From what I hear, they're not doing a good job. Now, I don't read it, so I don't have any opinion of it. But they can do whatever they want with it, and I hope they don't steal too much from it. I was shocked that they took so much stuff from Force Awakens, from the expanded universe. Shocked. Is it upsetting? It could be for some fans. Is it more flattering? I said it could be flattering, because they're like, man, these are great stories from the expanded universe. Let's make a movie. They are movie worthy to be transferred of the silver screen. That's kind of cool. But at the same time, I really hope they find their own identity. I don't think, folks, and when you get, some people said Dark Disciple, that can be considered canon, right? Because it takes place during the Clone Wars. Clone Wars is also part of Legends. Therefore, this book can fit safely inside of Legends. No, it can't. Remember what John Ostrander said? Quinlan Vos is a different character. Everyone who's read it says, no, this is not the same character from the comic books. So for that reason, it can't be considered both canon. No, it's part of the new canon, and let it go, folks, that's fine. Or enjoy both canons. Seriously, enjoy both canons. I have no problem with that. But don't try to say, well, we can kind of meet in the middle. No. You want Thrawn in the new canon? I don't. It's not going to be the same Thrawn. It's going to be a different Thrawn. He may have some of the same aspects, but it's going to be a different story. It's not going to be the Thrawn that we always loved in Legends. And you know what? Make up your own cool characters. That should be your goal. Don't borrow any more characters from the expanded universe. Let them have their own coolness factor. Come up with your own new cool ones. I'm sure there's other new cool ones out there of the new canon that I do not know. Now, I know some people do this with the Legends universe. They say, well, anything post-Jedi is not part of my canon. Or anything after Bantam isn't part of my canon. Or the Old Republic isn't part of my canon. Or the prequel books aren't part of my canon. Or not part of my canon. Or I hate this book, so it's not part of my canon. Yeah, and I understand their thing. They think that the Legends universe or the Star Wars universe is a buffet table where they can pick out everything they want to enjoy and leave the rest of the stuff they don't want on the table. It doesn't work that way. Not in my opinion. Here's how I see it. People who say, oh, that's not part of my canon. I have my own head canon, and this is what all is in my head canon. All right. Here's the deal. There are 7 continents on the world, right? And let's say that I told you that the only continents that I believe exist in my world are North and South America and Europe. Any continent that begins with an A doesn't exist in my world. So Africa, Antarctica, Asia, and Australia, you're out. I only believe in my world there is only North and South America and Europe. And you're going, well, Matt, what about that land next to Europe called Asia? Yeah, it doesn't exist. Doesn't exist in my world. What about the one underneath it, Africa? No, that doesn't exist either. Well, Antarctica is a continent. No, not in my world it isn't. How silly is that? And you'd look at me like, okay, weirdo, you do what you want to do there, cowboy. But to be honest, there are 7 continents. I can pretend that some of the continents don't exist, but they actually do. Folks, you can pretend pieces of the legends, the old expanded universe, you can pretend some of that didn't happen in your head canon, but to be honest, the reality is it did happen. And hey, you know what? I don't like some of the expanded universe too. Dawn of the Jedi. I could do without Dawn of the Jedi. There was one book which I hated, and the comic books, even though they showed promise, weren't very good. In fact, I would put those in the lower half of all my, if I was writing out all my favorite Star Wars comic books, I know Dawn of the Jedi would be in the lower half, only because it never got that big payoff. It was building up to looking interesting, but didn't end. So therefore, I can't judge it, and it would probably get a lower grade than some of the other stuff Dark Horse put out. So to be honest, I can do without it. It's not part of my canon. There, all I have to do is throw away a few comic books and the book and a short story, and I'm done. Doesn't exist. But the simple fact is, it does. Folks, when I say I love the expanded universe, I love the good with the bad. Yes, there are some books I wish never would have been made. Red Harvest, that's one I've talked about already. I hate that book. I wish Joe Shriver would have stopped at, Death Troopers. And then I could be wishing, oh, I wish he would have made another book. I wish he wouldn't have now. Red Harvest sucked. So there's books I don't like, and you'll be hearing about more books I don't like, in the weeks to follow, I'm sure. But the thing is, though, those books are still part of Legends. Clone Wars, the TV show, Filoni's Clone Wars, is still part of Legends. I don't like it that much. Like I said, I'm 50-50 down on that. But to be honest, it's part of the old expanded universe. Now, you may disagree. Say, Matt, no. You can do it. I cut out things I wanted, and that's fine. That's fine. But to be honest, the rest of the world is out there. Okay? You can pretend parts of it don't exist, but the fact is, in the old expanded universe, it is all one continuous canon. And it shouldn't be mixed with anything else. All right, that's just my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Folks, I'll see you next time.